It's me, it's Queen Rue, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Now, somebody asked me a very simple question. They asked me if Christmas is truly a pagan holiday. And the answer is yes. Christmas is indeed a pagan holiday. But the thing you have to understand is two things. Pagan is not a dirty word. Pagan means hill dweller. Back in the day, before the Catholic Church was powerful, when it was trying to gain power, I told you in the history that these two groups were basically both like I'm not going to say competing for souls, but that's basically what it was. The pagans really weren't competing. The Christians, the Catholics specifically, they were competing for souls. They wanted to get as many Christians as possible. So they did everything they could to poison people against other spiritual systems. So if you weren't Catholic, specifically if you weren't Christian, then you were, damned and all this other stuff. So these poor pagans who had been dwelling in the hills, minding their own business for thousands of years, became the focus of this smear campaign. And so they became associated with everything you can imagine that's negative. And the truth is, they never were like that. Pagans were just earth honoring people. They worshipped, they followed the moon cycles. They, loved the earth, that kind of thing. They used herbs and oils to heal themselves. Pagans were just very natural people. Basically what we would think of today as being, earth honoring kind of energies. Native Americans were earth honoring traditions. So they weren't evil. They weren't associated with the devil. They weren't they weren't doing most of the things they were accused of doing, they had never done. Eating babies or anything weird like that. It was a smear campaign. It meant to destroy them. And it worked. Because to this day, people still believe some of these lies a lot of the lies that were told by this ancient smear campaign. So when you ask, is Christmas a pagan holiday? It was definitely started by the pagans. The pagans had a lot of holidays because they honored the earth. So as the earth went through cycles and went from being cold to being warm, back to being cold again, the pagans followed the cycles and they celebrated them. So this time of year, which would be Yule, winter solstice, this time of year, they celebrated, what was happening. They celebrated the changing of the season. And then when the next season change happens a little bit later, around February-ish, there's another celebration. And then there's another one for the spring. And then there's one for the summer. So the pagans celebrated all of the changings of the seasons. And the Christmas holiday, what became known as the Christmas holiday, was called Yule. And it was basically very similar to what it is now, a lot of lights, gift giving, celebration. It hasn't changed very much. Santa Claus is a new addition, and Jesus was a new addition. But other than that, the rest of it is pretty much the same. It hasn't changed a whole lot. So when you're celebrating Christmas, when you're celebrating Easter, when you're celebrating any of these, holidays, they were taken from pagans. And the idea was to convert pagans. So if you're going to try to convert pagans, you have to have things for them to do that are similar to what they were doing before. So it would appease them and get them to come over to your side. So they took almost all of the pagan religions and renamed them slightly. They renamed them slightly in some cases. In some places they completely renamed them. It just depends on the situation. But these are not evil days or days of negativity. They're days all honoring the cycles of the earth. So if you think about it now, it makes perfect sense why we have holidays the way that we do. Think about the next holiday. The next holiday is February. The next big one anyway is in February. We got Valentine's Day. Around February, pagans have a celebration for the changing of the earth. It's starting to tilt towards the springtime. So that's another celebration. Then the springtime comes. Then we have Beltane. Now it is spring and it's warm again. So basically the pagans just follow the things that the earth did and celebrated them. It's very simple. It's not, when you really get into like looking at the ancient times and reading about paganism and reading about the differences between the Christians and the pagans during that time period, the early Christians, you see it's really not that many differences between the two of them. They have a lot of similar ideas. The pagans, like I said before, lived in a different part. They lived in the hills. They lived in a different part than where the Christians lived at. So there was also like some stereotypes going on even before the whole spiritual system thing happened. You know how it is. You got stereotypes about the people across the tracks. It always is that way. So unfortunately, till this day, we have smear campaigns and we have people who hate pagans and talk negatively about us. And the truth is that you're celebrating our holidays. It's the truth. You're celebrating our holidays. And the truth is that we're really not even that different. As far as, spirituality is concerned, we have different ideas. Christmas is celebrated, with the birth of Jesus, but we still have a lot of things such as the Christmas stocking and the Christmas tree and just different things along those lines that all can be traced back to early paganism. And again, not a bad thing. We're actually more connected than we really know. So that's the answer to your question. Christmas is indeed one of our pagan holidays. And if you want to know more, Google it. Google Yule celebrations. Google pagans. Just put in the word pagans. Put in history of pagans. And you will find so much information. And you'll be amazed, like, wow. When I first started reading it, I was amazed. I was like, you mean to tell me this is ancient smear campaign? This is some fake news? like I was just like, oh my God, we are put against each other and we don't even have to be. We're more alike than we even know. I hope that helps. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to somebody else who needs to hear this information. And if you would like to donate, I'll have my PayPal underneath there. And if you would like to hit me up for a free general question or a paid reading, I'll leave my email and you can drop me a message if you want an appointment. Okay? Or if you just want to get an answer to your question. All right, guys. See you later.